Start with a roll call, please.
Councilmember Chrysler?
Here.
Councilmember Spurlock?
Present.
Councilmember Craig?
Here.
Mayor Deutsch?
Here.
And Michelle Jessamine for this evening.
We'll assume she'll arrive later. Okay, so the flag please rise to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, Marty's on her way. Before we go for approval on the agenda, Mr. City Manager, I understand you have a couple of urgent items you'd like to bring before us?
Or at least up for consideration. We have
Actually, if we wait a second, I know Ms. Shanta's coming in. She'll need to be in on that.
I concur.
We want to go with the approval of the minutes while we're here.
I'll make a motion that we approve are we approving the agenda, you mean?
Minutes, just minutes.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of June 7th, 2018.
Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Saved a couple of seconds there.
very efficient.
She's going to hate us. Reports? Now, why don't you go ahead, Mark, and start explaining it. She'll understand it. She does it. So if you want to start explaining it, Mark.
Okay, so we have a possible urgency item before you today to see about including into tonight's agenda. And the urgency item has to do with the sales and the taxation of sales of cannabis in a commercial activity. We have a limited time to get a resolution to have this item on the November election to the county. That deadline is July, with my calendar, July 16th is the deadline to get the item to the county. And we're most likely not going to have a city council meeting on the first Thursday because it's July 5th, the day after the holiday. So if we can get a special meeting, we need at least 4/5 of a vote to be able to have this item approved to be put on the November election.
I'm sorry, are you saying that you said the word special meeting means want us to have four out of 5 people say we want to bring it onto this agenda? Is that
It'd be
correct?
best to have a full council.
Okay.
So if we can get the full council to have a date set for a special meeting, then this would not be an urgent matter. But it has to be a special meeting before the July 15th.
Why don't we consider this, could we do a meeting on the 5th and just have that be the only thing?
Yeah.
That'll solve you from having to do extra work before then during the holidays and still give us a regular time to do it.
Are you going to be in town?
If we have a council meeting.
I won't be here, but if we have that meeting.
Okay, Bryce, I'll let you.
Is that our gig? No, that's the next day, right? Okay, then I should be here.
I'm here for all of them. So,
Okay, I'm here, I'll let you, Michelle.
Yes.
Can we do it with 4 of them?
Be nice if 5.
Yeah.
When are you?
5. Whoa.
I'm sorry.
When would you be free?
I'm committed basically the next 3 weeks.
Every single day?
Pretty close. I'll be in Sacramento all next week after that.
Makes a difference.
Yeah, so.
4 will do it. I mean, to get.
4 will work.
4, if you get all 4 votes, yeah. 4
Okay,
makes
let's
sense.
just shoot for the 5th then, unless
So-
there's an
July
objection.
5th?
I have,
No objection.
Well, hold on, I'm just,
If we just want in already.
Bryce?
the idea is, I understand the time pressure,
Sure,
but
it's only 3 minutes.
moving the meeting, calling a special meeting for it, sort of adds to the time pressure a little bit, right?
It wouldn't be a special. The point is, if we do it this way, it won't be a special.
Oh, you're right, it wouldn't be a special meeting, I understand that, so that's a good point. But do we just feel that we haven't had time to prepare to consider the item, is that why? Because I feel the same way, but, I mean, I have read them, and we have Mr. Kinney here to help explain them, so I'd be fine with considering them tonight as well.
I would prefer that you do it at a later time. I'll discuss it briefly, so you know what it is, and you can then read it, but it would be better if you had a little more time to reflect on it. And I can take a moment or two now to just tell you what we did, if you'd like.
On the numbers,
Can we come back on the fifth?
Yeah, I'll be here on the 5th or
All
whatever
right.
time
Why
you
don't
do.
we just say that,
But let me, just so you, if I can take a,
Mr. Kenny, go ahead.
yeah, couple minutes. What we have, here, this is a taxing measure, all right? And you'll find that if you see other city taxing measures, they're pretty much the same. This is modeled after Mount Shasta's, which in turn was modeled after Shasta Lakes, and which is probably modeled after a bunch of other ones. So the substance, the wording of the measures, of the tax measures is pretty much the same. What differs is the way you impose the tax, whether it's gross feet or square feet, or gross receipts. And we could discuss that, but this does that. The other thing you need to know is that this ordinance, like others, it establishes a tax, but it sets a ceiling. So the tax would never be higher than that, because you have no authority to have a tax higher than that. It has an initial tax, which means on the passage, if it's passed, that will be the initial tax. But it has embodied in the ordinance that the people would vote on the fact that the city council can set by resolution any lower fee below the max. And that the city manager will administer it, and embodied in the ordinance is the right to make changes in the administration of the thing to make sense. The reason for that, the flexible taxes, no one really knows what the appropriate tax rate is. When this all started, everybody had stars in their eyes. The money's going to come flowing in from everywhere. The reality is it's going to be part of the business. No one knows for sure what the economic realities of that business is. So you can price yourself, by guessing, you can price yourself right out of the market. What you want to be able to do is determine what the appropriate fee is to react to the market situation. So you need flexibility. And some people say, well, the city would never lower a tax. Well, in fact, they do, they have, facing the reality that the max on the tax is too high. So it sets a range at which the city council can set the tax by resolution. So I just want to let you know the theory of the ordinance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council member?
I don't think so.
So what I'm understanding is that we'll just go ahead and have a regular meeting on the 5th, except this will be the only item on it. And give us time to reflect on that. In the meantime, we won't have to do any urgency items, so we can approve the agenda. Is that right? That's correct. Any objection to going that route?
add something to the agenda, your budget.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm also requesting that, it's probably something that can be done during the motion for the resolution to pass the budget, but I do want to include an update to the city manager's budget message that I sent out today. I didn't have time to finish that message by the time we put this out for publication, but it is finished now, so that's, I would like to have that as included, amended into the budget.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to have the budget. We can take care of that during the budget discussion.
Yeah.
So we don't.
I thought we had to amend the agenda,
My understanding is that we have the
but
budget
it's fine,
coming up here, right?
whichever,
Yeah. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mayor, Mayor, does the public have a say before decisions?
We haven't made a decision.
We haven't made a decision. We're not talking budget.
Your call.
We're talking about the agenda.
May the public, before you make a decision, have a say?
We're not changing the agenda, and we haven't voted on anything either.
Do you have an item you think should be added to the agenda that isn't on the agenda?
No, I have a comment about it. decision that you're gonna be making really soon.
We're not making any
We're not
decisions.
making any decisions on that particular item tonight, Mario.
We're just saying, this is the agenda.
What you said was taken into consideration, and with what you told me, have agreed to, we're gonna discuss it on the 5th.
Can you tell us what you're talking about?
No,
He's talking about the special meeting we just talked about having. He wanted to discuss, make a comment about the tax and about that. And I'm saying, where that's not on the agenda, we can't deal with that. That'll be on the next agenda. And so all we're trying to do right now is say, this is the agenda for this evening.
correct.
Let's do it.
Mayor,
All in favor?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the second, please.
Who seconded? I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we already did the minutes. So now we're on to
Committee report.
committee reports. Starting off with economic development and tourism. Yes.
If I may,
Oh, yes.
can I be excused? Do you have a reason for me to stay?
Not at all.
Thank you very much for making.
It's kind of cute to look
Leaving
at.
is great sorrow, but all experience.
Thank you.
Thank you. You will be here on the 5th, yes?
Yes, I will.
Okay. That means no party on the 4th, Mr.
You're going to be upset. Unless you want to wait there.
Okay, for economic development, I'd like to start off by asking the director of the Chamber of Commerce to come forward and give a little bit of an intro to what he's been doing with regards to our planned industrial park. Please. Did you notice I didn't warn you about that ahead of time? I'm sorry.
Just real briefly, I spoke with a gentleman from the State Controller's Office.
Could you talk into the mic? I can't hear.
Am I not talking in the mic?
Now you are.
Thank you. Spoke with a gentleman from the State Controller's Office, and he says that there is money available for small communities in order to get funding for studies to be done for economic development. And so I shared that with Bruce, and there was quite a conversation with that in the state that the city or the state has an excess of funds of about $16 billion. And so some of those funds can be used to take a look at what we can do economically. So that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at is maybe the area around the airport is to see if we can make that into some light industry, see what we can do with it to bring some economic income to the community.
Why would that be a good place for people to move, and how would it compare with other places in the county?
Well, we feel that the airports in the county, there's 5 of them, and so we feel that it's going to be imperative that we have this light industry move to this area. We're finding that a lot of cannabis owners down in Central Valley in the Southern California are buying up small warehouses and where businesses are, and in essence, they're kind of forcing these businesses out. And so we're looking at replacing or having these businesses relocate to us up in this location.
Thank you.
Kind of caught me off guard here, Bruce.
I'm sorry.
Appreciate
You
it.
did a good job. The other thing I would add to this is that because of the fact that we have both the interstate right there and we have an airport right there, it's a good spot that other places don't have. So some of them may just have the airport, some of them may just have like the landing up at Mount Chester being next to the interstate. But when you're dealing with industrial parks like this, the ability of the bosses and middle managers to fly in and out is a real positive. So we think we have an opportunity to turn that into a real good. Thank you, Richard. Next, finance. We're all dealing with finance. Did you want to say anything else beyond that?
No, we're discussing the budget tonight.
Public facilities and services? Nothing. Okay, airport. Brandon.
I'm trying to think if there's anything new since the last council meeting. I don't think we've met in a couple of weeks, so nothing new from the last council.
And the idea that we talked about before, if you weren't here for the last meeting or if you haven't seen video of the last meeting, is that we're in a situation where the FAA has, I think it's $1 billion just in California that they want to get rid of. And what they want to do is they want to get rid of it by spending it on airports that are desperately in need of it. So it comes out of non-discretionary funds, and we're on that list of people that are eligible. We don't have to apply. They know how bad we are on a scale of 1 to 10. Our runways and taxiways are 3 out of 10. So the good news is this is money that comes in without a match. We could end up getting $2 or $3 million out of this deal and not have to pay anything out of it. So we're watching this closely, and the fact that we've done the due diligence leading into this with both the airport layout plan and the pavement management plan shows the FAA that not only we're in a bad situation, but we're willing to do the work to get out of it. So I'm pretty optimistic about where we stand with that. Would you agree, sir?
Yes.
Okay, next, emergency plan task force. Anything to talk about emergency plan task force?
No, none unless Arlene has any updates on how we're doing on the FEMA grant.
Well, I just attended a workshop for how to apply for the planning grant money to do the hazard mitigation plan. So we'll be putting that together before and submitting before July 2nd, which is the deadline for the planning grant application. And then we'll have to wait and hear whether that grant has been given to us before we go ahead and do the work on the hazard mitigation plan itself. And the emergency plan can be a portion of that or can be adopted after it and incorporated into it.
I hope that we are just going to be approved. They've already sort of promised us what we want.
Thank you both. Next, Mossbury Veterans Memorial. I can say that we had a memorial service on Memorial Day. One of the big things we learned is we need to plan ahead a little bit better. So next year we'll be doing that and make this an annual affair. And the word I got from a lot of people was that it was nicely done, and we'll be having a video of that up soon so everyone can get a chance to see it and share it. So that's what we're working on for that. Mossbury Trail, what's the latest on that, Mr. Fair?
So I have a brief update, and then I can answer any questions if anybody has any, but essentially where we stand, if you remember a couple meetings ago, I gave you all an update from Tom Esselden, the trail designer and kind of lead trail advocate there at the Trails Association. That was pretty lengthy. The main update since then is that there's sort of 3 things that are happening. The 2 very important things are that N-Plan, who is the contractor, has completed the drafts of all of the necessary permits. So there's 3 agencies that are involved that we need to seek permits from. That's Water Quality, Fish and Game, and Army Corps of Engineers. Fish and Wildlife is the lead agency. And the draft permits are complete as of just maybe very recently. And Tom and Arlene need to review them so that they can be sent to the state agencies and not be drafts anymore, and actually be applications for those permits. So I'll follow up with you to set up a time with Tom to review those, and I think Tom asked that you be involved with that as well. The second thing is that UP has asked finally for the 30% engineered drawings to be complete for the bridge and the trail, and those are almost complete to the 30% level. And those are being done by a couple of local engineers, Schlumberger and somebody else, I can't remember. But those drawings are almost complete, and we anticipate we'll be able to send that as a whole packet of requested documentation that UP Real Estate has asked for. So that's very good news that they will finally have what they've been asking for a couple of months. Essentially where that leaves us is if they say, yes, we approve this, we want to go forward with offering this lease, everything I came up with this term, we're still on track to get off the tracks. The idea would be that we that UP is still on track to be able to provide a lease by the fall, around the time of fall. And that should we be able to start construction then the goal is it would just take a couple of months, and hopefully before the snows come, we could have a trip. But that all depends on all these other factors. But the two main things, the permits ready for review by the city and by Tom, and the engineer drawings ready to go to, or very close to being ready to go to UP, are very promising, and that's very good news. The final thing is that high rail trip. Looks like it got moved out a little bit. Wes Lujan, which is Wes Lujan was the senior VP of something or other. The local Roseville bigwig UP guy. Please don't put this on TV. He has been promoted and is moving to Washington, D.C. So his replacement, a man named Clint something, his last name I can't remember, is very difficult, is taking over, and they're getting him up to speed on the project, and he wants to be a part of that trip to understand more about, so it's another sort of exploratory trip for some UP people, and also some potential funding sources that we're trying to have be a part of that trip as well, because remember, we're still looking for about half of the funds. That looks like it'll be the end of July, early August timeframe. And yes, you're I have a spot for you reserved.
Is there a GoFundMe page for Lost Break Trail?
There isn't.
Bet you it would work.
I think we're trying to figure out at what point we go that route.
Okay.
Sort of a crowdfunding. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. There will be auxiliary things that will be necessary perhaps to raise funds for. The bulk of it is, is money that things like foundations and large donors want to give to. So we're very confident that we'll be able to raise the construction funds for the trail via the channels that have been pursued so far. But I think that's a great idea. It allows the local community to get involved too.
The question I have is, have we injected into the conversation at all, the conversation about parking?
So the short answer is no, because just getting these people on our side and on UP side and all the different sides to agree on a proposed plan for a trail has been difficult and lengthy. But parking is a huge concern. A lot of people have some pretty good ideas, I think, that we need to consider at some point, and that's something that I think the city would be, need to be more involved with that when the time comes.
I have an idea that I wanted to bring on to the next, in comments, I will ask for something to be investigated and brought up at the next meeting.
Yeah, we need to start getting on top of this, or we're going to end up with a nightmare down there that just moves it from one place to another.
Well, the other thing is when we have an actual trail to Mount Spring Falls, that could result in more people or the same amount of people, because a lot of people go there already via the tracks. But we have all summer to deal with this problem too, and the sheriff's department and so interim solutions we need to be considering those right now for this summer. Regardless
So
of
we'll
the
bring this up at the end, after the agenda, we can add that.
Yeah.
Okay, next step then. Broadband.
Good job.
Yes, good job. Thanks for keeping it flowing. On track to get off the tracks. Okay, broadband.
Why was it even still on here? I don't understand that.
We don't, can we just take it off?
Yeah, because the money's been taken this week,
That's fine. Well, there's things going on, but I agree. I'll take
Okay,
You
bye-bye.
fine with that, Bryce?
I mean,
There's still things going on.
there's still things going on. I mean, we understand that this is something that is important to us. I mean, one thing you could do is if you want to take it off the list, you could sort of move it to economic
Economic
development
development, okay,
and
we'll do it that way.
give an update as part of that committee. I'd be fine with that.
Battery, give
Okay,
them
Mark.
a council update.
Okay, fine. Beautification. Who wants to talk beautification? Here we got this chairman ready to talk.
Chairman is here,
Tim
Tim Holt, yes. So, on a positive note, and I'm just going to summarize a few things here briefly. What's happened with the Beautification Committee in its second year is we are starting to attract more citizen involvement. In other words, what I'm saying is projects that are not initiated necessarily by the committee, but we have people coming to us. And the prime example of that is actually Centennial Plaza. Bob Olive, Reverend Bob, he's not on the committee, but as you know, he's been very active in trying to improve Centennial Plaza. More recently, we have the proposal for a living Christmas tree downtown dedicated to Patty Hill. And I'm supposed to report to you that Jimmy Limo is working with Ernie to, I guess, figure out the best location. I don't know the details, but he wanted me to convey that to you. When he does have more details on where it should go and how it should be planted and all that, he is going to make a presentation to the council. So that's another obvious example of citizen involvement in beautification. Another one is the bulb outs, in front of the California Theater. Initially, we had a couple come to us, Gene and Nyla Laskowitz, with some ideas for planters. We've now had some ideas which I think that initiated largely by Mark, possibly Dave Keisler, and I'm not sure, he knows more of the details than I do, whether they are metal or wooden sculptures.
I was, and I didn't mean to get involved, I was just, the discussion with the engineers was about cost for utilities and maintenance and stuff like that, so I just kind of threw out there, well, what about some kind of local artist doing some kind of sculpture or something?
Yeah.
That doesn't require water and stuff like that. So I didn't really need to interject with the beautification committee. I think they're doing a great job.
Yeah, no, I wasn't, not concerned about that. I think it's great. These ideas are percolating up, and I think that the fact that the point I'm trying to make is that because there is a beautification committee, it's maybe attracting, some of these ideas. So, and of course, we have a few more public benches. We have more flowers to attract and welcome visitors to our downtown. I do want to share my concern about the failure to appoint Barbara Cross for this committee. And I'll get right to the point on that concern. She has written some, what I would call substantive criticisms of the city, sometimes the council, sometimes city administration, about issues like broken sidewalks, unsightly outdoor storage, lack of code enforcement for historic buildings. And, Josh and the others, this is substantive criticism from an active and concerned citizen. This is not somebody ranting and raving and saying, you guys are a bunch of idiots, and da 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 da. These are substantive criticisms. And they obviously are part of a dialogue about improving our downtown, a dialogue that we need. So to me, that's a reason for, accepting rather than rejecting someone for this beautification committee, especially when I have to point out to you, it was the only applicant for the position. So totally, it's beyond my comprehension why she was not approved for this position. So maybe somebody on the council can enlighten me down the road on why she was not approved, but I'm being honest with you, I do not understand what's going on here. My other concern is with the failure to renew the inspection of the historic district facade. And again, I'm going to be honest with you, this to me calls into question the City Council's commitment to maintaining our historic district. Yeah, benches and flowers are great, they're an improvement. But my impression is that when you try to go beyond that, the council balks. Shies away from a program that has worked very well in the past, in the opinion, not just myself, but many citizens, including downtown business owners, in terms of improving the appearance of our downtown. It's hardly a radical proposal, almost a baby step, really, in some ways. Just we're talking about facades here, that previous councils have been able to take. So, once again, I'm a little mystified about, well, I have some opinions on why it hasn't happened. But at any rate, that's my report for now, the positive and the negative, and our next meeting is July 11th. Thank you for listening. 5 o'clock, thanks. You know what, I gotta change, I've gotta change that if I can. No, I can't change it?
You're all posted.
For
I'm sorry,
him?
Bryce. Yeah,
That's like,
I,
as long as I know.
okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
In terms of any feedback, I'm sure that'll happen at some point. We'll move on to marijuana task force, cannabis task force.
That's right, we gotta change that. We have not met, and we decided not to talk about those tax measures tonight, so. Next time.
Is Mario still out there? No?
No, I mean, again, all the discussion really should take place in a meeting where it's on an agenda. That's the idea of taking a discussion. We're not supposed to just do it randomly in the agenda.
So he could have used his input at.
We could use his input on the 5th, right?
I'm going to.
That's what I'm saying. So onto the agenda. So
Okay.
nothing to talk about the cannabis?
Committee has not met.
Okay, good. Next, we'll have announcements and public comment. The podium is open to public comment. Try to limit your comments to 3 minutes, and also be sure to limit it to items that are not on the agenda.
Arlene Dinges. I'm here tonight for the Dunsmuir Botanical Gardens. And it's just a reminder that we're having our biggest fundraiser of the year this Saturday. We're having a different kind of concert this year, and we hope that you can all attend. Bring your lawn chair or your blanket, bring a picnic, or plan to buy from one of our 2 vendors that are selling food that evening. And we'll be selling beer and wine and soda, and it'll be fun. Hope you can come.
Question for you. First of all, why are we doing different now from last year? And secondly, what is the difference? What is the music this time around?
This year it is rock and blues. We had to change. We had, Peco was not available for this year's concert. They're going to Europe instead. And so we had to fill in with something else. We made a strategic decision to keep the same calendar date so that people would remember when the event is. And that required us to change the kind of music that we could obtain, economically speaking. And
so if the people come there, they can still pay tribute to the trees if they feel like.
absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, next public comment.
Hi, I'm John Hill, and I wanted to let you know that smart meters are being rolled out, and they're going to start rolling them out in July. And there are some concerns associated with smart meters, so I just wanted everyone here to be aware of those. And so there's a few that I can mention. There are some health concerns as well as the potential for fires and explosions caused by the smart meters because they're not grounded like the meters we have now. And also the cost will go up. In every state and locality where they've installed smart meters, costs have gone up on average around 20%. And then some people get billed 2 or 3 times what they were normally billed. So you can opt out.
Yep.
So there is a Facebook group that I created where there's more information about all of this stuff.
That was you?
Yes.
Good job.
Thank you. So it's the Facebook group is called Health and Safety. And so there's a lot of information there. There's a couple of short videos, some longer videos, but they address all the concerns. And there's also a thing, a document that you can print out for people that don't have access to a computer. So I just wanted to inform everyone that you can opt out, and we don't know what the cost is going to be, but the cost was supposed to be determined today by the CPUC. So I'm going to find that out. I'll put that information on the Health and Safety Facebook group.
Could you share that to the Dunsmuir Political Forum too?
I will do one more time.
It's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
all group.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
You know, since Peter Arth isn't here today, I kind of feel like I'm playing the gadfly role here with council. So I just want to make a comment about the last council meeting. And I have to tell you, Mark, I tried to sit through that PowerPoint presentation on broadband. I mean,
I walked, at one point I got up and walked around the block, and I think when I came in, the lady was saying, and I'm gonna get to the finer points of this fairly soon, and I just couldn't, you know, I couldn't stay for it. So the point here I'm trying to make is, we want to encourage citizen involvement. You know, we would like to see a few more people maybe at the city council meetings. Well, you know, we all know people come to these city council meetings for certain agenda items, you know, that they're personally concerned with. And, you know, I have to say, they probably don't come here to watch a half an hour PowerPoint program on broadband. I realize that is of concern to people in this community. But again, if you look at the dynamics of citizen participation, we don't have too many. You remember Virginia Barham, who showed up at every meeting, sat through it no matter what. Rita Green came to every meeting. Ann is like that. We don't have a lot of people like that. We want to encourage people to come here because they're interested in what's being presented. So, you know, but I will ask this, if I'm having trouble sleeping sometime, could you present that to me sometime?
You forgot to mention Sharon. Sharon shows up all the time too.
Yeah. Oh, and also, also when I was talking about beautification, this is a little bit off the subject, but I really want to commend Bryce for his work on Mossbury. That's just fantastic. If you get that going, you and UP and the others, that will be amazing.
Good evening, council members. I'd like to join Tim's remarks about the report. I was here. I sat through the whole thing. And I could summarize that report by saying, gee, that was very interesting to hear all about what you can do in a city with 1 million people in it. That was about it. There was literally no application to a small city like that. About attending council meetings, when I'm not here, it's not from lack of interest, it's because I have confidence in this council. It's really, makes me happy to know that when I'm sitting at home, there are people here who are doing the work, paying attention, they're smart. Mari's really careful about not spending money we don't have, and I'm with that.
Thank you.
That's my philosophy about city government, is that it should never spend money it doesn't actually have. That's where cities get in trouble, and they start having political problems as a result. So here is a council of people that are working hard, smart, paying attention, hands-on. Big Dave is the best hands-on guy I know. So I'm happy about that. On the beautification committee, I made an application when I heard there wasn't an applicant, only because I wanted the committee to keep functioning. Then I heard that Ann was an applicant, and I withdrew my application because I thought she knew about 10 times more than I did about beautification and had a long history of working on that. The last thing I wanted to mention is we had a great meeting this morning, and I had a chance to talk with various people here, Mr. Binges, our city manager, about some things. And I shared one thought, and I'm going to speak on a budget item later. I'm not going to. But I believe the city should seriously think about acquiring a vehicle for public transportation. And I think it relates to Arlene's project, because I recall one night at 1:30 a.m. when the sheriff called me and said, Dave, can you come up here right away and help us with your Land Cruiser? Help us get some people out of this fire risk zone. So my wife and I got up in the middle of the night, and we went around backwards through some one-way streets and stuff, and loaded people in the car and some pets in cages and stuff like that, and hauled them out. Well, I've long thought, and this was the only thing I think, I've long thought that the city should have a free shuttle, a theme shuttle, something that's fun, that has, you know, maybe a Dunsmuir theme of some kind, about water or railroads or whatever, that would get people from every point in the city to every event. So they could just hop on the shuttle and hop off all day long. Now, I thought about, the reason I mentioned Arlene is this, and the reason I mentioned the fire is this. We don't have the capacity in the case of an emergency to move all the elderly people in this town who don't have cars and don't have money, who couldn't get out of town if there was a fire to save their own lives, and they would probably perish. So having a vehicle isn't just a recreational or tourist thing. It's about being able to provide service to the whole community when needed. So I hope that you'll think about putting that into your program for next year's budget. I know it's not on this year's budget, but I think it's something that would set the city apart. People would remember and photograph the Dunsmuir shuttle, you know, tourists, they love stuff like that. Thank you so much.
Other comments?
I'm going to ask Mr. Weston, would you come up and introduce yourself, sir?
Absolutely.
And you can start, throw out the idea, and then when it comes to me, I got your back.
Very good. Well, my name is Stephen Claire Wishman. I live at 5912 Apartment D, Cabin D, right down there. If you look just right there, you can see my house and you probably hear my dog Atlas. Anyway,
What street do you live on, sir?
Butterfly Avenue, north. You got to go left over the bridge.
I live
It's-
on Butterfly. I was wondering where you live.
It's been a problem trying to get Dwayne from Dwight's Towing over there to haul the 3 Aerostar vans that are there. I'm cleaning up the property, by the way, so it doesn't look so bad. Maybe in a week, everything will come together. It's going to be really nice there. We fixed up a little cabin for my friends, David and Trinity. They moved in, and so that's going to happen shortly. It'll be a lot nicer. Okay, so this is in regards to what Big Dave Chrysler had to say about the flagpole right out here. It would be great, you know, if we could afford a new flagpole, and I'm a carpenter, so maybe I can help with that, welder, you know. To get a new flagpole up there and take down that flag. You know, if we do this, I'd like to have that flag, that one that's coming down.
Let's get to the point.
Okay, what I'd like to do is get my brother's casket flag, David Edwards Wishman, to fly. One time, that was a great idea. Fly it one time and then put it back away. In that chest, it says, my sons Dave and Steve. So, that's what I propose.
Okay,
I don't know where to go with that, but
I'll take the rest of it.
thank you,
Thank
Dave.
you, sir.
You're the man. What you said. So thanks, folks. Appreciate it.
Any other comments from the public?
On the flag thing, I have one comment. Just to let you know, I have a American flag that flew over the state capitol, a big one. Too big for me to hang anywhere on my property. So if you ever need it, just call me.
Is it weatherproof?
It can be outdoors, yeah.
Thank you. Keep that in mind. Thank you. Okay, let's start off with comments from the council, starting with Ms. Shonda.
My name is Lauren Control of Saturday's big event at the Botanical Gardens. I hope all of you show up. It's a little bit different for us.
Blues.
This format, but we're not, you know, we don't have anything to do with the catering. All you have to do is, you know, show up, bring put mosquito spray on it, and enjoy the food and enjoy the music. I'd like to comment on the smart meters. We actually had a meeting at the library, and the library, Karen, the library has agreed to have all the information printed if somebody wants to go in and read it but doesn't have access to a computer. The rollout, and I've talked to Pacific Power, the rollout for Dunsmuir is actually in the fall, even though it's Siskiyou County, they're already starting. And Pacific Power cannot just, they have to give you the option of opting out. Okay, so there's a lot of information. The rates are supposed to be set today, and you know, the initial rumors are that if you opt out before they install, there will be no cost, you know, for opting out.
Right.
There's just going to be the fee, monthly fee, but even that, Pacific Power was trying to get, you know, usury prices, because other utilities in California are also rolling out smart meters, and they're charging, $5 for care, for their care clients and $10. But it's still, when you do the math, it's more effective to opt out because the monthly charge you have besides the health, I'm dealing strictly with the money issue. It's going to be to your benefit to opt out and have the analog meters, because the analog meters read your total usage. They don't break it down into increments. They don't try to, it's not software that, somebody is, I have to deal with smart meters in Arizona. And let me tell you, you do not want to be on peak and non-peak hours. And I was doing laundry at midnight. Because in the summer, you're running an air conditioner. You don't have any choice on that. So think about the winter here. Very few people run their whole heat on something that doesn't use electricity. So I urge you to actually do your homework. And the library has, thank you very much for all the information. And the Facebook group that has been formed actually has been disseminated already. Dunsmuir, so. I think I had one other thing, but I'm too tired and I can't remember, so it must not be that important.
If it comes back to you, let me know. Mr. Craig?
Bouncing around.
Well, I thought I'd bring us back this way. Dave always likes to be there at the end here.
I think the free shuttle idea is really cool. I have no idea how we get there, but let's talk about that. Weed has like a senior shuttle. I don't know how they paid for it.
They got a lot of money for it.
So let's get a lot of money for one too.
So are you saying you'd like to put that on an agenda to discuss?
Yeah, I mean, sure, whether it's this council or a committee or something, maybe, I mean.
I can tell you that Richard has been working this for quite a while. We keep talking about it from an economic development standpoint, so I don't think it would be something we want to put on the staff to try and do any reporting on right now, but we can continue to explore it.
Okay, well, it's good to know it's being explored. That's my only comment there.
Hurry up.
Just to address Tim's comments a bit, I wasn't at the last meeting, so unfortunately I couldn't make it. But not interested in digging into that other than to say that I think that when people do apply to be a volunteer on a committee, doesn't matter what committee, to be a volunteer on the city council, we should try to do all we can to allow them to serve their community. And then somebody else said something. Oh, David said something that I thought. I was just wanted to push back against the idea that spending money that we don't have is like the only position of a government, and of course that's prudent for your personal budgets. However, governments are a very different thing. If we spent money we didn't have, we wouldn't have a functioning water system or sewer system or a lot of the things that we need. So I would hope that the subtext there is that we make prudent investments for our community, not just take a hardline approach to spending money.
The subtext is correct.
And I think that was all. This idea of the shuttle made me think of something about, this is probably certainly for future discussion, but I don't know if, even if we couldn't acquire a vehicle in the short term, it seems to me that we could provide some sort of community-based, meaning calling upon many volunteers to agree to like have a senior buddy program or something like that, where we all have a, even if maybe neighborhood watch could be involved, and we could say, it may get a little bit of privacy issues if we have seniors signing up for some registry to be contacted in the case of an emergency, but it seems that, in the interest of looking out for each other, we could we could maybe explore and see if those types of systems could work. Because even if we didn't have a vehicle to load everybody up on, we could potentially have volunteers. You know, I've got extra room in my car when we're hauling out of town, chasing, running from something. So maybe we could explore something like that.
Thank you.
I'm against like throwing out half-baked ideas, so I wasn't even going to say anything. But
No, I think
maybe we
you're right.
could.
That's what we're exploring.
Let's bake some more of those ideas.
Josh? I mean, the only comment to piggyback off of that is that when it comes to emergencies, our deputy may correct and clarify if I'm mistaken here, but a lot of times what happens is if we have an emergency, there's a door-to-door, well, there's a call list first, and there's door-to-door contact made, and any necessity that require a ride, normally a deputy's there to assist, if not commandeer or ask someone to assist, or the fire department's there to assist. And we've never done it to my knowledge, not to say it hasn't been done, but I mean, there's been instances in our incident command structure class where, you know, they say, you need to get rid of people, call up the school, ask for our school bus, and a lot of times they'll jump in and help with that. So, I mean, there's options there. Stuff like that is something that's thought about during those emergencies. It might not be on paper, but that is a common practice. But I do like the idea of having some sort of maybe citizen transport, but then something as well for tourism, being able to take them out of spots. But I think that's a conversation for another day, though. But just wanted to clarify the emergency side of that conversation.
Okay, a couple things, but the shuttle's a great idea, and I think that the city, regardless of how we do it, that's something that we should pursue. The benefits of it is just, it's ridiculous. All the functions that we could be using, all the events, as well as a form of promoting.
Pacific Crest Trail.
Getting pictures taken. If we're going to talk about Pacific Crest Trails, and we're talking about how broke we are, here's at the bottom of my list is I got parking meters. I'd like to discuss putting parking meters up there. I know that eventually we're going to have a parking spot somewhere else, but they still going to park there. The closer they can get, they're going to park there. I think if we had parking meters, $3 a day, we could get a little bit of money back, and that money alone could be used just to repair the road right there in that area. It's just a thought, but I think it's something that we, as a council, should put on an agenda and investigate and see where it would take. I happen to know a man who said he knows where there's a pile of parking meters. Okay, so the parking meters is something that I would like to see on a future agenda. Some notes that, one, the farmer's market is back open on Thursdays. Okay, that's a good thing. Looked like it was bombing up there today. I would reiterate the concert Saturday night. Me and the family were doing security, so everybody's going to be nice and safe, and it's the Blackwell Brothers. And I'd also like to point out that when that one's over, Saturday night, our own, he's playing, where are you playing?
It's in Wairika.
It's in Wairika?
Never mind.
But still, if you guys have never heard Secret Society Handshake, they are outstanding.
Okay, can I just interject real quick? We also have another member in the band.
It plays in the band too.
Is that right?
Really?
Are you in this band? I didn't know that.
And what is he playing?
Okay, all right.
What's that?
I would like to see at the next meeting, we have some people in town. I've always been the kind of, ever since I got on council, if I see somebody that really deserves a pat on the back, I've been the one that kind of always says, hey, we got somebody that needs a pat on the back. We got a few people. Luann and Dave. I don't know if you guys have seen the stage down there for Carl Alto's ceremony, but they redid that whole stage. And I think that we could kind of commend them for their hard efforts on that. And then I have the family. This is a group of people that have helped the Rotary out in every event that we've had for the last 4 years. Everything from directing traffic in the rain to setting up tires and roadblocks at 6 o'clock in the morning. I think that these people need to be acknowledged. So I would like to, Mr. Mayor, present you a list of names that maybe at the next city council meeting we could have you come and we could present them with some, you know, a certificate of acknowledgement saying, hey, you guys, thanks for all your hard work. I'll tell you something. Before I ever did any of this, I came to a city council meeting. She called me and said, you need to come to the city council meeting. The mayor has something to say to you. So I came, and they gave me a little plaque that said, Big Dave, for all your hard efforts in creating the soapbox derby. And you guys don't know what that meant to me, but that lit a fire on me and it kind of changed me. And looking now, talk about wanting to be involved. So it's just a pat on the back that I'm asking that this council gives. And I expect you guys to back me on that.
If there's no objection,
Cool.
make it happen.
All right. Now, Mr. Wishman, did I
Yes,
say that right?
Yes.
Wishman?
Yes, you did.
Mr. Wishman's come to us and he has an idea that happens to be right in time with one of our needs. We have a 100-year-old flagpole that is structurally compromised and it's got to go. So what I'm proposing is I'm going to work with the same people that got us the flagpole for the cemetery. Seeing if we can get the flagpole put out here. It can be it could be in Mr. Wishman's name for all those who have served.
Very good.
We would fly your family's flag for a day and then give it back to you.
Perfect.
So then we could fly another flag that I'm looking to get a weatherproof. They're called a 180-mile-an-hour flag.
I heard.
So that's what we're looking to get for permanent basis. But I'd be willing to work with you on this. If the council agrees, we need to replace the pole. I think it's a good and worthy cause, and it's a way that we can show our respect to all those who have served. So if there's no objections from this council, me and this man will proceed in getting more information and coming back to you at a later time with the cost and who's going to donate what and what we can do. Is that all right with you guys? Yeah?
No objection.
Can I add something to this?
Sure?
My father passed away on Thursday.
Condolences.
If I could take this information with me to Sonoma County from my family, they would know that's going to happen. That's incredible. That's crucial.
Dude, it's going to happen. I just
Very
can't
good.
tell you it's going to happen like next week.
Outstanding.
It's going to
I'll
happen.
be ready. And I can help.
If Big Dave says it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, understood. There's one more thing. Can I plug my my musical career?
Not now, son.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Very much.
And the last thing on my list is, John, dude, I commend you. This is good, and please keep us any new stuff, let her know or whatever, okay?
Yes.
Again, thank you. All right, that's all I got.
Next, I'd like to turn it over to, go ahead, something else.
She remembered.
You remember. Remember what?
On the June 5th primary election, there was a proposal, I didn't particularly vote on it, but it benefited the city of Dunsmuir, that because we have 2 city parks, we are in line of getting $200,000 each for each park. One for the children's park, and then Mike is going after the $200,000 for the city park, which involves the pool. So it's something that he advised the finance committee, because it was a surprise to me when the League of California Cities sent the word out immediately after the primary that particular issue passed. So the $200,000 are going to be available, and Mark and Mike and Lake are already, it's on their radar to make sure we get that.
It's exciting. I saw Mark writing it
And we
down.
forgot $200,000, we forgot.
Children's Park.
Just slipped my mind.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that's almost like $500 million. Yeah.
So I'll turn to our sit-in for Sergeant Merrill, Deputy Lensing. Did I say that right?
Yes.
So what do you have to tell us about what's been going on in the police world?
Well, I was unprepared. I got called about a little over an hour ago. And
So what can you tell us about anything that you've been working on?
Well, I've been primarily working in Dunsmuir every shift I have during the week. So I work Monday through Thursday. I try and do a lot of traffic stops. There's a lot of traffic from out of town. Also the locals, the VAT locals around town, they're starting to, as it gets warm, they start coming out of the grass and it starts getting busy. Not a lot of calls for service down here, a lot of proactive stuff going on.
That's
all.
good.
What was that?
That's good.
Yes.
You've done well. Thank you.
Can I ask you a
Yes.
question?
Yes.
It was brought to my attention to Facebook that the rainbow happening is going to be happening in Oregon,
Supposedly. So.
and that there's going to be a lot of traffic coming through Dunsmuir. Are we prepared for that?
I question that every day because I never know when I clock on when they're going to pass through.
All right.
So nothing has, no emails have been sent through the sheriff's department. We haven't spoken to that. So it's kind of deal with it as it comes type of thing.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager.
Just a couple things. I was in email communication with Pacing Engineering in regards to the rate study. Paul Reuter with Pacing Engineering has been working with city staff on clarifying some of the stuff with the wastewater side of accounts and things, and feel like they're at a point where they're looking to set it on a meeting. So we'll be working on trying to establish another rate study committee meeting for July 17th, either at 5 or 5:30. So just want to let everyone know that that's going to be coming back around. Also, after this budget gets adopted, I'm looking to set a date for a workshop to discuss goals. There's a lot of exciting things happening, and because of the lack of resources for the city, it's really important that we keep focused on what we want to spend staff's time and the budget money on. So the budget is a big part of that. We've got the budget for you today, but also going into next fiscal year, it'd be good to relook at the goals that were already set by resolution and look to see what we want for the future, near-term goals and some long-term goals. The only difference I see, really, one of the main difference for the goal-setting workshop would be what are the resources going to be to get us there. So to make sure that we don't set goals that are unrealistic, we're going to say, okay, who's going to be doing these things, or where's the money going to come from, and things like that. So I'm going to be asking the city council at some point for some dates, probably in July, late July or early August, to see about getting a workshop for goal setting.
Good.
And last but not least, I'm going to be out of the office tomorrow. I'll be going to Sacramento for a board meeting for CRW.
Thank you.
Good luck. Like I said,
For my report, first of all, following up on Mr. Keisler's suggestion of giving out awards, there are two people I'd like to give an award out to. I haven't been able to track them down yet. During the Railroad Days Parade, I was sitting in the second car. It was a convertible, and as you all know, it rained and it hailed and did all of that. But the one thing that was unique about where I was is I was watching the two young ladies that were carrying the banner up front. And they were such troopers. At one point, the honor guard decided they couldn't handle it anymore, and they kept right on going. And at one point, they weren't sure which way to turn. They turned around and said, "What do we do?" Somebody pointed, "Turn left on the Shasta," and so they did. Not Shasta, Sacramento. The point is that they followed the whole way along. The hail was coming down. They kept marching. So I'd like to add them to a couple of awards.
The two little girls?
The two little girls up front.
I'll get their names.
anybody that went out there, obviously I wasn't out there.
It was rough. Anyway, secondly, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Neighborhood Watch program. What we're getting ready to do is Sergeant Mero and I at a meeting a couple of times ago sat down and divided the city up a little bit more into smaller sectors. In the past, people talked about downtown, north and south, and the real philosophy behind this program is you want to have groups of about 10 to 20 houses. And that way those people get together, they find a captain, they have some barbecues, they walk around, they understand the neighborhood. So what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of weeks is putting up on the Neighborhood Watch page on Facebook a copy of the map that we drew up that lays out the sections and give an opportunity for people in each of the sections to identify themselves, comment, here I am, and start to get together a little bit more active Neighborhood Watch, and also at the same time do two other things, just improve the neighborliness of the city, and also we're really trying to come up with, we're desperate to come up with ways to communicate better with people, to get the word out, to let them know ahead of time, and that's one of the things we're going to be working really hard on, and we think that the Neighborhood Watch program is a way to do that, so keep an eye out for that. The last thing I'd like to point out, and it keeps coming back, and so I'll take a stab at this. I'm not talking about my own particular feelings on this, but with regards to the question of comments and feedback and all of that, I think that I can speak for the council in this way, that the council right now is listening to professional advice. We're listening to people who understand dollars. We're listening to lawyers who understand the legal situation. We're looking at the fact that we have a budget that limits us. When we talk about why we don't want to have the way they did it in the past with regards to inspections of buildings, it's because of the new litigious world we live in today. The fact that if somebody were to say this building doesn't do this, and somebody else says, well, you're what's the word? Discriminating, I'm sorry, thank you. Discriminating against me, I'm going to sue you. Our lawyer said the best thing to do is to have the only people doing any kind of inspection for the city to be trained people on the staff who understand the limitations and what they can and can't do. We also keep coming back to the idea, why don't you do code enforcement? We had an actual meeting where we had John Kenny come here and explain to us in great detail the options available to any city when it comes to doing code enforcement. And the options are that unless you have a big bucket full of money, you better not try and go at it the legal route, because the other people have lawyers and they'll fight you all along the way. We as a council have recognized, I believe all of us have, that we are living in a very limited pool of money. Our options for how we do things aggressively are what we're taking into consideration when we say we're doing this or not doing this, or we can't afford a code enforcement officer. That's the way we're approaching this. And when we hear somebody stand up over and over, and we hear somebody argue to the public that we don't care, that we don't want to do this, that tends to make people not want to sit down and work with us. Because we've tried our best to explain to people why we're doing what we're doing, and if all we're going to get back is criticism, that's not a working relationship. So I'll leave it at that and move on to the next item, which is the consent agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
We're here a
I
second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Public hearing, no public hearing, old business.
There's one there. There's a public hearing.
Oh, we do? Oh, I missed that, I'm sorry.
Hi.
That's why you're here, I understand that now. Mark, carry it away.
Well, I would really just like to hand the microphone over to the expert, Jim.
Oh, thanks. Thank you very much, council members. You're here for a closeout hearing for grant number 13 CBBG 8969. That grant was awarded in 2014. This is the staff report for that hearing. You were awarded, the city spent $1,628,890 to replace 6,845 feet of drinking water line. You spent $97,758 to have a master drinking water plan and rate study completed for you by Pace Engineering. And you spent $371,871 on the community center upgrades, which included a much improved kitchen, dramatically improved bathrooms, a stage, elevator, And they repaired the chimney and part of the wall so that it didn't fall out. You had a whole door to deal with. At the end of that grant, you ended up spending $2,098,519,000, and that grant ended at the beginning of this year, the ending of 2017. So that is what the grant was. The state requires that with all the paperwork that you send in to close it out, that you also have a public hearing announcing what the outcomes of that grant was, which is what the staff report just was. Now, in addition, Mr. Brannigan had mentioned that I should also give an update on the future grants. CBG program has been accessed by the city of Dunsmuir for just about 30 years. It's become quite a bit harder lately because of changes in the city. But in 2017, you applied for an additional $1,400,000, of which $500,000 would be business loans and $900,000 would be sewer lateral and backflow valves to low-income residents. In March, the CBG program announced who got what grants, and within days, literally 14 days, they rescinded all those grants, and now they're waiting to the end of this month to make a formal announcement. Before they rescinded, the city had been awarded $500,000 for the business loans, but none for their sewer lateral program. But that was all rescinded, and we're not sure why or what they're going to do. The rumor is that they're going to give more money, in which case you might get something for your sewer lateral program. But the program, the hearing we're here for tonight is to indicate that we did successfully complete the 30 CBG 8969, and you did spend a little over $2 million and get some pretty decent improvements to the city. With that, the staff will take any questions for you or from the public.
So at this point, would I be opening the podium to public comment for the public hearing? Was there particular words on that? I didn't see if I had those here.
Absolutely.
Pardon me?
11E.
Yeah, I've got that, but I'm saying, are there words that I have to say that make it a public hearing for?
Really open up the public comment.
I'll open the podium for the comments. No public comments, I close the podium. There we go.
I have two brief comments.
Yes, there you go.
Is this appropriate time?
Yeah.
You just mentioned changes in the city, that is what made, you mentioned that.
I did.
Are those demographic changes? Is that what you're
They
talking
were demographic changes. There were also changes with the way that the program, that particular program calculates wealth in the
Right.
city. That particular program, and as near as I can tell, only that particular program, believes that Dunsmuir is a much wealthier community than they were 4 years ago.
about? My understanding is that, so what he's talking about is you can be a disadvantaged community or a severely disadvantaged or whatever terms they apply to it, and that we, because of our median household income or some other factors, maybe a multitude of factors, we got above that, and therefore it was much harder for us to qualify for certain aspects of the program.
With the CBG program, and so far that seems to be the only program that uses that particular calculations. So those programs believe that you're far wealthier than you were 6-7 years ago. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, 6-7 years ago.
That was my only question and clarification, and I just wanted to point out that it was a grant that started in 2014, I believe.
It was
Earlier?
prepared and written in 2013. We
Right.
were talking about it in 2012, as far as that passed.
I just wanted to point out that I know previous city finance people and city managers, including Brenda Baines and Randy Johnson, and I'm sure Mark worked on these over the past couple of years, need to be commended for all of their hard work. Whenever the city gets a grant, there's a ton of work on the administrative side to actually be able to realize the benefits of that. And I just want to thank the previous city managers and city staff and all the people who worked on that, because it's a huge obligation that the city takes on too when we take money from the state, so.
Since you brought that up, the city staff, that would be me, would like to tell you that Brenda Banks was instrumental in getting this. She had to prepare a lot of stuff, and she got it rolling. Randy was great about getting it moving, and poor Mark inherited all the grant. Because it tends to be towards the end of the grant that things tend to go wrong, and your current city manager did a great job of cleaning up the very last of it. So all three of them happened to hit those sections where they really did a great job, and they all three should be commended.
And thank you, Jim.
I got one more question.
Yes, questions.
I heard you recently,
Yes, sir.
I heard you recently got married.
I did.
Oh, congratulations.
And you know where you got married to?
Yeah, she retired from the city, and she reminds me every day because she continues to say, "Is it Saturday today? Is it Saturday?"
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll tell her that.
That's a long way.
Thanks.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question? It doesn't really have to do anything with the close out, but you do point out our president's state with the CDBG loan. So we were granted a business loan, a certain amount.
For a very brief while, they announced we were going to be granted. They rescinded all those. So we are not sure what the status is right now.
Is that, but we just approved the loan, is that,
Yeah, you're
The same
probably
time.
talking about two different.
okay,
two
I just
different-
want to make sure that I'm not getting two different programs.
They program, we have the full money already.
Okay, I just don't want to,
Oh, no, you didn't loan money you don't have.
yeah.
For the record, I am against that.
Okay,
And by
yes,
the way,
Mayor.
the bakery in Wilton, and they are so successful that they don't know how to handle their business, so if people have not gone down to the bakery, I suggest you do, because everything is amazing. Actually, their cinnamon rolls sell out moving around.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is hereby closed. Moving onward, old business, no old business. Moving onward, new business. We need a motion?
That's what I'm wondering, is if we need to make a motion to accept it or anything like that.
No, thank you very much. You actually don't have to do that. All you have to do is hold the hearing so the public knows it happened and that there was an out.
Thank you for enlightening us.
Yes.
My incredible pleasure. Thank you very much.
You are dismissed too. You may go home to your wife.
Plan for Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, new business, moving on. Planning Commission applications, Mr. City Manager.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And before I get started, I do really want to thank Jim for coming tonight.
Thank you, Jim.
And all of this stuff that you're moving over about staff, the brunt is on Jim. I have an issue, I call him. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. The city council is being asked to consider appointing citizen Christopher Reese and Carol, I want to butcher the Skelton. Okay, on to the planning commission. Both are in attendance tonight. The planning commissioner, Barbara Cross, resigned from the planning commission in late 2017, and Will Newman resigned from the planning commission on May 8th. City staff began advertising the vacancy in the local paper, requesting interested citizens to send letters of interest to the city manager. To qualify for the planning commission, the applicant must live within the city of Dunsmuir or its sphere of influence, where there are 2 seats. The city advertised the first vacancy for 2 weeks and received interest applications to serve on commissions or committees, which is the type of application that we have from Mr. Reese, who lives in the city of Dunsmuir. The city also received an application in the beginning of June from Carol. I'll get it.
Scalco.
Yeah. Who lives in the city's sphere of influence to serve on the
She
planning
lives in the
commission.
city limits.
Do you? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I
Yeah.
do.
Sharer is interesting.
Okay, I'm sorry. We'll get it all wrong here. I don't think I get the new guy in town any credit. anymore.
No, you're one of those.
Okay, the term of the Barbara Cross vacancy is scheduled to June 2020. And the term of the Will Newman vacancy is is 2022. So there's two vacancies. The Barbara Cross vacancy, she resigned a bit early, or away from her final date. So that term is 2020. The Will Newman, he was pretty much at the end of the term. So that term is until 2022. So we have options to appoint Mr. Christopher Reese into the position vacated by Will Newman with the term set to expire in June 2022. And Carol
Galco.
oh my gosh, into the position vacated by Barbara Cross with the term set to expire in June 2020, or either way around.
Well, I'd rather look at Carol for longer than Chris. He's
I think the key here would be the order in which they applied. Did Chris
Right,
apply
I think
first?
that,
Yeah, that's-
Mr. applied first, because our first vacancy was Ms. Cross.
That's correct.
And so I think we should put them in the order that
Very good.
the
Any
vacancy.
objection to that concept?
I don't unless they have some input.
Yeah, that's true, we can ask them. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to start off by asking each of the candidates to come up and say hello and explain themselves why they want to serve. And I know it's all pretty perfunctory, but we do this. So Mr. Reese, would you step forward first?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, citizens of Dunsmuir. My name is Chris Reese.
How come you look so familiar?
You'll find out here shortly. Made my face kind of red. Yeah, I'd love to serve on the planning commission. I'd love to be a part of the city. When I was in the Navy, they always said, man, never again volunteer yourself. Don't think that's applicable in this situation. I love the city, like I said, I love the city of Dunsmuir. You'll see me walking around all the time. I love beautification. I love the different the places. I love the people. I was the acting chief of police for the city of Dunsmuir from 2012 to 2016. I attended and have been involved in city government really since about 2003. And I've been active in the city of Doris, the city of Fort Jones, and the city of Dunsmuir in a law enforcement capacity, acting chief of police, liaison, that type of thing. Since I've moved here, I've lived here just about a year and a half in the city. Born and raised here in Siskiyou County, born and raised in Mount Shasta, just north of here. Went away for a few years in the military, came back, went into law enforcement, did that for several years, and now I'm enjoying my new position. I'm a manager at a store. I was able to switch my schedule if you guys choose to appoint me. My normal days off are Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I took a look at the schedule, took a look at my limited staff, and was able to switch my days off. So I now work on Sunday, and I have Wednesdays off when the planning commission meets. So if you were willing to appoint me, I've gone that far to, help out the city if you wish to have me. I love being of service. I want to be here, and I want to, be able to contribute to the city and to the citizens. That's all. Thank you.
Good.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Before you leave, any questions from the council members? Okay, thank you.
Oh, and also I have no druther on 20 or 22, so quite awesome.
Thank you. Ms. Galpo?
Hello, everyone. My name is Carol Scalco, and I live at 6278 Shear Avenue. I've been at that residence since the spill. But before that, I owned a home on South First Street since my daughter was about 5 years old, and that's my daughter. Anyway, I think it's about time for me to volunteer for my community. It's been 4 years since I lost my husband, tomorrow. And he loved this town. And when he retired, we lived in Reading for a few years. And I said, Tony, I'm going I'm going to live in Dunsmuir. He goes, you going to live in Dunsmuir? I go, yeah, because I know the people there. I feel like I want to be part of the community. So I feel like I've been lax in serving my community, and I have an open mind, I have an open heart, and I'm willing to serve. And if you appoint me, I'll do the best job I can. Thank you.
Any questions from the council?
Oh, all right.
Just want to make sure, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to open the podium to public comment. Any comments from the public on the nominations? Close the podium. Any comments from you, Mr. City Manager? Okay, what do we have from the council then?
I think we're lucky. I think we are so lucky. As far as Ms. Carroll goes, as far as doing a good job and having a heart and being what's right, I've been part of the council that got scolded by that lady. She put us a check, so she will tell it like it is. And as far as Chris, his loyalties lie so far as me and him have been out in 2 o'clock in the morning evacuating people when it was flooding, and he's out there trying to save people in Dunsmuir. So I think that we are lucky to have these two candidates. I'm honored to have them my back and vote.
Mr. Spurlock, any comments?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Make it then.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Chris Reese with a term to serve until June 2022, and Carol Scott with a term to expire in June 2020 on the City of Dunsmuir's Planning Commission.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome. I think we're all very
Carol,
Thank you very much. As I
we've
said, I
seen you
think
2 years earlier.
we're fortunate to have you both. Welcome.
I'm getting a hug, sorry. Come on. Love you, bro. Chris, congratulations. Glad to have you.
Okay, next on the agenda. We have the budget, 18-19 budget, resolution to adopt. Mr. City Manager.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I would like to, if you could, also include the, in the motion, to amend with the city manager's budget message. Because that, yeah, include that in the motion. So before you today is a request to adopt the attached budget through resolution 2018-09. And it's been, as typical, a bit of a road that I just want to first commend the Finance Committee for their efforts in meeting on the Fridays. We had a number of meetings. Matter of fact, we met on April 4th to review the TUC applications. And then we met again on May 11th, May 18th, and May 25th to review the draft budget. And these are all after hours on a Friday, and some of those meetings went a bit late, so I really want to thank the committee.
Would you remind the public who the members of the committee are?
Yeah, we have, 2 of them are the city council members, Ms. Shanta and Councilmember Craig. And the treasurer was on the committee. He's not here today, but that's Mario. And then staff. So they did a great job. And so it's not an easy task when you start talking about how to spend money that you're trying to balance a budget, and it's not an easy thing to really figure out how to do it. So I applaud them for sticking it. Attached is the budget as proposed. We also had at the last city council meeting, prior to the city council meeting, we had a workshop to go through the budget and discuss the items within the budget. And we can, of course, discuss those items today. What I'm looking for is if there's any changes that the council would like to make sure that it's clear that we have consensus with the full 5 city council members, so that those changes can be made. And if we get those changes, we make sure that the budget will be passed as amended.
As amended.
As amended. So we've gone through this quite a bit, so it's before you today for possible adoption. And if there's any questions, happy to answer. Oh, and I want to commend Blake here.
He was involved in some.
Oh my gosh. So the beauty of the budget, all of those pretty sheets and all those numbers and everything, is Blake, and proofreading and getting me the numbers, and he was very instrumental in this. And next year he is going to be taking the lead, and we're going to have an even better budget. So Blake is doing an excellent job.
I will say.
I second that. Easy to work with, both of you have been easy to work with, and he provided rulers.
Yeah. Rulers.
I will say for the people that weren't here for the budget workshop, that it was very obvious, and there will be a copy of the budget online, right, so people can look at it.
Yeah, the copy's already online right now with the agenda. It's also on the last meeting as well, separated as its own document. And whatever gets approved, if the budget gets approved today, we're going to make whatever changes. And it will be, the resolution will get signed, put it all together, and we'll have it on the website.
Okay. And the point I wanted to make particularly though here is that we all three of us, and I'm sure Mr. Keisler and Mr. Craig would agree, we had 2 fantastic people working on us and getting us this budget. It not only the numbers work, but the effort put into making it understandable so that you can sit at home and look at it and understand what the numbers are. We all applauded them at it, and so I just wanted to make sure everyone knows that we're extremely excited to work with our finance committee and finance director and city manager and treasurer for this. Thank you. Okay, with that in mind, are there any questions about the budget from before I open the podium? Okay, I'll open the podium to public comment on the budget 1819. If you have any questions on the budget, if you have comments to make on the budget, the podium's open. Other than that, we won't be going into it in detail today because we had that presentation. So what we're looking at doing right now is... Go ahead, Carolyn.
I would like to note that we do have a hard copy at the City Hall on the front desk. If anybody, if they don't have one.
And there's also a video online of the actual workshop. You'll have trouble reading the numbers, but to listen through and understand, you can get that online also.
I
Carolyn?
live in a whole new world. I have no computer, so I must be buried in a crack somewhere because I can never find anything out. Anyway, Carolyn Rivard, 5508, Apartment B, Dunsmuir Avenue. I'm here as a concerned citizen. I just have interest in knowing what's been made available for the Chamber of Commerce Visitor Center for the coming year. That's all.
12,000, is that correct?
Well, there's a couple of different ways of looking at that number. In the hard numbers, it's $12,000 cash that will be given to the Chamber and Visitor Center. But there are also other components that are in what the city provides to the Visitors Chamber and the Visitor Center and the Chamber as well, with buildings, utilities, signs, and things like that too. So in the check that will be written, it's $12,000. But there are also other items as well.
Is that based on his budget?
On whose budget?
On the budget for the chamber, the cost?
We don't get into detail with the budget as to what are the other items that are benefits to the chamber and the visitor center. One such item is the billboards. There's 2 types of billboards that the chamber operates, and those used to be cities, but this was before my time that those were provided to the chamber in lieu of, I don't know all the details, but the revenue from those billboards are to the city does not get that, the chamber does.
All the advertising and everything that they do is under that 12,000?
I don't think so. We have,
That's extra.
that's, I don't run the chambers, but
It does fit our budget because we do allocate a certain amount each year from the city. So it is something that we have looked at, and we've also talked about that too in the budget hearings. So yeah, we're satisfied with what's going to happen.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
I shall be brief. I send you greetings from a lovely young lady who lives at 5630 Dunsmuir Avenue. Her name is Nicole Dork. She is your putative animal control officer for the city. She works 80 hours a week at least, helping people in this community have a better quality of life by assisting them with things like, oh, some old guy went to the hospital, he has no family, so she goes to the house, feeds the guy's pets for a week until he gets out of the hospital. She doesn't ask for thanks. Nobody knows she did that except me. But she operates a now 3-year-old 501c3 nonprofit. She has unilaterally partnered with the city to improve the quality of life for poor people and elderly people, to see that animals get fed, to see that poor people who have injured animals get their vet bills paid. So she made an application for some of the PUT funds in the amount of $7,000, because that was a symbolic amount, just to let you know how much she is laying out through donations from people in the community and elsewhere. How much is laid out each month for vet bills and pet food, which is given away. There's a guy, we have a volunteer, and he drives all over Dunsmuir taking cat and dog food to people who can't afford to feed their children. And yet having the pets in that family helps them to have better nutrition for human beings in the family. So she's made that application. She understands that it's not likely that that's going to be granted, but she wants you to know she's doing her part. And she would like to ask you to recognize Saving Shasta Cats, Inc. It's not limited to cats, but it's primarily to help people in this town and their animals. And so she's asking for the city to make an adjustment just before adopting the budget to recognize and validate her work in a way that just says symbolically, the city is behind you and encourages you in your work. So you have a lot of grants that say 12,000, 14,000, something, a lot of numbers with 3 zeros behind them. You could take $100 or $250 off of some of those items and no one would even notice. But so her request is for you to recognize and acknowledge it with a nominal grant to her for the nonprofit. It will help her with fundraising during the coming year. And so we respectfully ask you to consider making a slight adjustment in the budget to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
Yes, I have one.
Come forward.
I don't have a lot of money, but I'm a good carpenter, plumber, I do basic electrical work. I have a welder, probably Friday, 100 feet of extension cord, I can go anywhere. So I wanted to donate my services. Can I leave my phone number?
Sure, so you're with the city of assistant.
Go ahead.
It's 530-261-0357. And those gifts for the young lady today, I can do feeding and stuff, no problem. So all kinds of cool fun jewelry for the girls, something like that.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks, Thank you.
I'll close the podium to public comment. I'm going to start off by saying there are 2 things that I personally wish were in there. One of them is Shasta Cats. One of the things I thought about is that we do have the ability to take donations, and we could be a pass-through for that. Is that something that we might be able to do? I know we do it for other, like beautification. People can donate money. We have an account set aside for them. Want to
I
think
think
about
we
that?
could, but if they're looking for a tax write-off, I would say that I'm sure they could.
No, I'm just
Oh, there you go.
saying,
Okay, Dave.
he is a 501c3, so I'm just saying that if we were able to take donations, let people know they can stop down at the city hall and leave it, fill out a form like they do for beautification, and it just be passed on through to him.
I would ask if that's something he's wanting.
There is a plan to acquire a few like cash donation boxes and place them around town. Some businesses have said they'd be happy to have that.
Well, what I'm asking is, could we have it so that if people wanted to make donations, we can tell them, go down to City Hall, there's a piece of paper they fill out and turn in the money, and it'll be collected, and am I saying that?
No, we do have a form for donations to come in, and we have an account set up where we could put those into. It'd be, I would say, if they're looking for a tax write-off, to not do it through the city, just do it through the nonprofit. But I believe we can at least look into that.
Okay, I'd like to look into that, because I do recognize that we don't have somebody dealing with feral cats in the community right now, and she is kind of serving that purpose for us. I understand we're short on money, but if we could be creative and find a way to help them out by having some sort of an umbrella approach to helping them. Should you explore that? Will that work for you?
Well, that wasn't the objective, but everything helps nonprofits.
And maybe we can find some money. Let me move on, and the second thing I'm also looking at is for the family resource centers. And I know they asked for a lot, and I know that is a lot, but I'm hoping that we can find a way here. I don't know, I've already talked to the city manager, he's explained to me that we are in an austere situation, but I'm throwing those things out to see if we can find a way to sub some money into the two of those. Other comments, other thoughts? I'll start down there this time.
Well, I think, I just want to take a step back, because we're talking about the budget. I think it was really smart to take the TUT funds and diversify them and create the program that we did for that. And, I think at this point, I'm going to just respect the process that we went through to allocate those funds. But in the future, this is the area of the budget that we're going to, people are going to come to the city via this mechanism for essentially a donation to their cause. And I think we need to do more next year to sort of shine a light on that process a little bit more, or advertise it more. We're not going to have more money to grant out in these programs, or it's unlikely that we'd have a lot more, although sales taxes are up and TOT's up and TUT's up. And so these things are good, but I would hope that we could figure out a way to not just do that at a finance committee meeting, perhaps bring that portion of the budget to the city council earlier in the process, maybe.
I agree with you on that. It's kind of what I felt too.
Because more things were shifted into that category. We call it community promotion. I'm elated that we actually have funds to be able to grant out to all of the different deserving organizations. And I think everybody that applied this year was completely deserving of support. It's very difficult to make those decisions. And I guess what I'm saying is, let's make the whole city council make those decisions than just the subcommittee earlier on in the process. So I think that's a process thing that I think we could explore. Part of that comes out of the frustration that when we get to this point in the process, and I recognize that I missed a council level budget workshop on this at the last meeting, but I wasn't on finance committee meeting. So the frustration is that we are now in a position where we're going to talk a bunch about the TUT and not so much about the water system and the sewer system and all of the areas where my guess is staff spent the lion's share of their time on the budget. So I don't really have anything to add other than if we could lengthen this process of adoption of the budget somehow, or have a specific meeting to talk about the community promotion section, it would allow us to use nights like tonight to really look at the budget holistically take a broader view of it and not be looking at just where our sole discretionary spending is in the form of that community promotion category. So that's all.
Josh, your thoughts?
No comments. I mean, I like the idea of going into that a little deeper because I'd like to have some discretion with those funds as well. But I'd like to echo those comments and say as well.
Mr. Kaiser?
You want to give them all money, you know? They're all deserving, like you said. But you can only squeeze that buck so far. And you guys, I commend you. I wasn't at the last meeting either, so. And you guys put a lot of work in it to get to where we're at here now, so I'm good.
Ms. Shonkley?
Well, I am on the finance committee. This was the second year that we distributed the PPP funds. First year was kind of an open session where the whole council was present. And that didn't,
Ms. Shant, I'm sorry, could you speak into your mic?
that didn't work out as hoped. So, you know, the second, allocation decided they would go through a process, and I thank Bryce for honoring the process because it was hard. It's hard to make the decisions. And we also actually had a point system as to, how to allocate, the funds. And it's difficult to not always just get your emotions, run. It's difficult enough when you have limited resources, and it would be so much easier if we had enough funds to be able to allocate to everybody that needed the money. But unfortunately, we're not in that position. So, considering that all of these meetings are open meetings, anybody can come, they're always advertised. The process, I think, was successful. There's always going to be, after the process, people that are wanting to, revise. But if we allocate something different, then you have to also consider who we're going to take it away from. Okay, so I would like to join with Bryce and also, help make these hard decisions and leave the process as it was. Thank you.
And so I'm trying to get a sense of the council right now. Does the council want to continue on and try to wrap this up with the budget tonight? I hear also some thoughts about putting it back. What are your thoughts? Let's go back with you. You started the conversation.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Back on it.
yeah, I didn't mean to insinuate
insinuate
that I'm unprepared to adopt the budget tonight. I am as amended, I guess, with the statement there. But I'm just saying in the future, I would like to see this be for next year's budget. And first of all, I'm going to say, because this just popped in my head, I had this thought earlier, I think this is the first year that I've been on the city council where we've adopted the budget before the end of the fiscal year.
There would be kind of a nice...
So we should celebrate that and thank staff once again for that. But no, I think
It's a balanced budget.
and not all the funds, but yes. Staff can't be commended enough on the work that they've done. So I really, that's part of respecting the process. I'm just saying, going forward, we can look at how we can be even more transparent, that's all. And not transparent is really the issue, just having more input on those things and getting it in front of the people even more, because, well, why not? That's all. So I'm fine with the budget.
Can we find 500 for Shasta Cats?
Would you like to propose
Where to get it from?
away from?
I know.
Would you like to reduce the Chamber of Commerce's allocation by 500?
I'm looking at Richard.
For the
The
library,
correct
by
answer is no.
500, and they're already 800 deficit. So it's a very difficult position to take, so.
I move to adopt the 2018-2019 budget as presented or resolution and resolution 2018-09 to include the updated CM message, city manager message.
I second the motion.
Any further discussion?
No, I mean, other than to say that we can do budget amendments, you know, we have to do budget amendments throughout the year. I would hope that the TUT funds are something that we don't set a precedent for doing that with, just because we have an annual process in place, and I do think it is working for the most part. I'm always open to change, you know, improving that process, but you know, if all I'll say is that there was, you know, we did score all of the applications and made our decisions based on a pretty impartial and I think fair scoring system. So that's the way it shook out this time. And no, I don't have anything further.
Josh?
Nothing further.
Dave? Mark? Okay, I'll just say one thing. I do want to continue to work with both the resource centers and with Shasta Cats over the next several months to try and find a way to help them with their shortfalls. I'm going to accede to the wisdom and views of the council. All in favor of this? We have to have a roll call, is that correct? Okay, would you manage to give us a roll call vote?
Councilmember Shanta?
Aye.
Councilmember Craig?
Aye.
Councilmember Stirling?
Aye.
Councilmember Keisler?
Aye.
And Mayor George?
Aye. Sorry, and thank you, and we'll continue to work on making the city better going forward.
I got some
Yeah, so let's have
ideas.
a break, 5-minute break. Okay. Well, the meeting back in order.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have the cemetery contract. Mr. Brannigan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I'm just going to read from the staff report. The city of Dunsmuir entered into a contract with Lily Jones on August 2nd of 2011 after she successfully submitted the lowest responsible bid of $7,000 to maintain the cemetery. The last active contract that the city of Dunsmuir has on file with Lily Jones expired on June 30th, 2015. I met with Lily Jones in late 2017 to discuss the need to have an active contract in place and all of the requirements that go along with the contract, which resulted in the attached proposed agreement. The attached agreement is a 3-year agreement with all the same requirements as the one held by Lily Jones in the past, with an increase in the annual cost paid to Lily Jones from $7,000 to $9,000. In reviewing the file, it was discovered that the last request for proposal showed Lily Jones' bid as 3 times lower than the other competitive bid. Due to the excellent service received in the past and the proposed increase still being less than 3 times less than the prior bid in 2011, staff feels that the contract is fair and recommends that the council awards. So this is, when I met with Lily Jones back, it was about November of 2017, she brought with not just the talk of the contract, but all of the things that she's doing out there. And she is doing a lot of things where she's really trying to figure out all of the families and what's been going on there and doing stuff with Ancestry.com. And she's doing all these things that aren't really in the contract. So she's going above and beyond on her own. And she did request that, that the cost be increased. And I believe that if we were to go out and do a competitive bid, it will come back at a higher cost, substantially higher. So I think that because of this is probably about what inflation would be. If you look at inflation from the time that she first got this to where we're at today, it's in line with inflation.
Questions from the council?
But this increases the monthly stipend from 500 to 1,900.
Yeah, I don't know if I put the monthly, I have to get my calculator out there.
Well, I'm trying to do everything by hand. Ever since calculating is difficult.
Increase it to 750.
I don't have any problem with the, she does a great job out there.
questions, just before we get to public comment?
I just have one with regard to the insurance that's mandated in the contract.
Yes,
As a contractor, they carry their own insurance?
yes.
And is that,
She pays $460 just to have the
I
insurance.
know, I'm just wondering, like, the city property, could that not be covered under a city's insurance policy for less money?
She'd have to be an
This
employee.
is insurance for the contractor, so we have
Oh,
insurance.
Oh,
for
okay, I'm
the-
sorry.
I've already been this route.
For insurance claims for injuries to persons or damages to property?
Right, so they do like maintenance work out there, cutting grass, trimming, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And they do a good job.
Open the podium to public comment.
Carolyn Rivard, the insurance that you're talking about that she has to pay for, does that cover any volunteers that want to go out and help with the cemetery upkeep?
I'd have to check. I don't believe it does. Volunteers would probably, if they're working as volunteers, should work through the city.
Like our beautification committee, for instance?
This says that the contractor shall procure and maintain for the duration of the contract insurance against claims for injuries to persons or damages to property which may arise from or in connection with performance of the work hereunder by the contractor, their agents, representatives, employees, or subcontractors.
So if they bring you in as an agent or
Well,
employee,
I'm thinking about bringing this to the beautification committee, that maybe we as a group could maybe once a month go and help clean, pull weeds, do whatever.
yeah.
But we don't want to get her in trouble either.
Nobody would be a subcontractor. This is anybody that she employs as a subcontractor.
Okay.
If
It
some,
doesn't cover volunteers. Usually when you have a volunteer, force, you have a sheet of paper that they sign,
Right.
that they release the city of any liability, because you volunteered a few hours.
Yeah, all our contract says is the somewhat nebulous terms, agents and representatives, but my guess is the insurance policy that they procure is gonna define that more clearly.
Which we should be covered if we do it under the beautification committee, because we are a
No,
committee
we're
that
not
reports to
covered.
the...
They're not subcontractors. They're just volunteers and are going in there. It doesn't cover anybody that's goes out there.
If you're gonna volunteer, you gotta sign a liability waiver relinquishing the city.
Even though we go in under the beautification
It
committee.
makes no
It
difference.
doesn't matter what committee, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
If you're volunteering, you sign the paper,
Okay,
period.
all right.
I do see people that go out there and do their own upkeep of the grave and things like that. There's nothing to stop people from going in there and doing some upkeep like that.
We keep coming back to this because I know we came up with it when we were talking about the Hedge Creek Falls Trail out there. If volunteers go up to work there, how do they have to get permission from the city? Can they do it? Are there liability issues? All those seem to be.
They've never passed it before. The Dunsmuir Garden Club used to also take care of the Hedge Creek Falls.
Right.
We never, as a club, we had 4 properties that we took care of. Not once did we sign any kind of paper, but nobody thought of suing, anybody else because, I just twisted my back and
Yeah.
can't get up.
Welcome to the new world.
Okay?
Okay, so let's move on then. Podium is closed for public comment. Any comment here? Any motion here?
I move to authorize the city manager to enter into contact with Lily Jones to provide ground maintenance at the Dunsmuir Cemetery from July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2021.
I'll second that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I have to,
We're going to roll call.
Oh, okay, right. Roll call.
Councilmember Craig.
Aye.
Councilmember Keisler.
Aye.
Councilmember Spurlock.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson. And Mayor Rich.
Aye. Okay, next item. I'm going to have to recuse myself on the advice of the city manager and the city attorney because I'm acting as the acting executive director of SMC. So the vice mayor can have her first stop with the gavel and et cetera. And I will step outside until this is over.
you don't need to go step outside, you can just sit right there.
No, it'd be-
Not say I can't do it.
Yeah, the city attorney said it'd be best if he
Okay.
is around.
I don't really understand the contract.
Well, this is
So
not,
if
the
you could explain.
yeah, absolutely. So before you is a request to have the city, to authorize the city manager to negotiate with Siskiyou Media Council and to enter into a contract. So I provided a sample contract, but that's not going to be the contract. That's something, the budget that just passed had a number in the budget, actually under the city council's budget for this type of activity. So the services that the city's been getting in the past, with what we have tonight, where we're getting video service, and there's also talk about trying to get live TV. Whatever I do in contract, if approved by the city council, will be within the budget constraint that I have. Otherwise, I would have, if anything is outside of that, I would have to come back to the city council for an amendment to increase that budget amount. So what I'm asking for is the authorization to negotiate with SMC to the terms of the contract, and I will keep it within budget or bring it back if we do not have it within the resources.
Okay, open the podium to public comment.
Good evening, council members. I'm Richard Dengis. I'm the president of Siskiyou Media Council. And I'll do everything in my power in order to make an equitable contract with the city. We know that you're on a very tight budget. We are also on a very tight budget. So I think that there are ways to make this happen and keep it within your budget and ours. So that's what we're here, that's what we're going to try to do. And I will meet with Mark if you approve this situation. So, thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak? Public comment? Close public comment and open it to the council. Bryce, would you like, do you have any feelings on this?
No, I think this is totally appropriate, as long as, negotiations can be done and stay within our budget. We essentially already said that we're comfortable with this by passing the budget. But I will say one thing, which is the part of the debate around, we record the meetings, we put them on our website. There's a small hosting fee to do that. And then there's the fees to record them that SMC is providing, and I think it's for the most part, a very fair rate. And I'm happy with the product as it is right now. Of course, technology could be improved and sound and things like that, but it's a fine enough product for now. The only part of the debate is whether or not to go over the cable stream, to broadcast live to the cable. Essentially, my position is that we have never seen subscriber numbers from the cable company. They don't provide that service to us anymore, as I understand it. The cost looks like it'd be about $1,800 per year. In addition to do that, without any real data to show that there are more than 5 people actually watching the meetings live, and because we offer a superior product online, and we're recorded and archived, I would not be in favor of those additional costs. So if we're at the point where we're giving directions in terms of where the negotiations would go, I would need to be convinced with some real data, that I know that the cable company is not providing at this point. I know that there are some people that do watch it, but there are other avenues, and I don't think it's worth that cost at this point. That's all.
I would, if it's okay, like to understand if we can get some of those services within budget, then that's not a problem. As long as we stay in budget.
Yeah, but we don't, I'd have to go look and see what the budget is. How much?
Yeah, it's the same that we've been paying for at least the last 2 years. It hasn't gone up.
So the monthly fee is, or the per meeting, is that how we're paying right now?
Yes.
Per meeting?
Yes.
Is that gone up?
No.
My understanding though is to get on TV rather than online, live, it's an additional $1,800 to what we've been paying in the past.
So those are the things that, I'm not sure what the negotiations are going to read, but if we can get live TV broadcast and also what we're getting now, I don't know. I just want to make sure that that's something that the council's not opposed to.
Well, you understand the concerns,
Yes.
and we are understanding that you're gonna go into negotiations with our concerns and the costs
That's all.
in question.
Yeah.
That's all we're saying is, we don't dig it, when you're the man, you gotta go and get us the biggest bang for the buck, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you could get that service in budget, great. Or if you could say it's just a little bit more, then we can have that discussion. But
Yes.
for the most part, I think this cost as stated in the report is not worth it.
And it's, as far as the motion goes,
Very right, Josh has a chance to speak to this too.
Well, I mean, I agree with Price. I know here probably in a second my phone's gonna go off, but I know at least one person's watching live today. One. But I think that could be subsidized by free online services. That doesn't cost $1,500 a month. I'm excuse me, a year, but you know the concerns, yeah. I trust your judgment.
on that note,
No, I'm not done, I have my own,
okay, well, let me make the motion.
no, I
No,
have
she's
something
good.
that I want to say.
Okay.
I have the same concern as Bryce. For a long time, we didn't have, live. A lot of people gave up on it. And, after negotiate some deals with the cable company, and they really couldn't tell me the viewership. And so I have the same concerns as Bryce. And I think that for the few people that might watch it, and cable, more and more people are cutting cable. They're just, they're cutting out cable altogether. So I'm not sure that the $1,800 is worth it. If you can squeeze that service in, without having to pay extra, I'm all for it, but I'm not really on that. It's gonna call on paying extra for the leisure of few people, live. Is there anything else?
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I moved to
I just have
authorize.
one more additional question.
Josh has.
And I'm taking into concerns of citizens here, but I know that you don't have access to a lot of meetings and you don't have access to meetings online. Have you ever watched it on TV? Okay. That answers my question.
She comes to us.
She's here.
Am I able to though?
The word,
I mean, I know she comes
She comes to the
things,
meetings.
but in the off chance that she can't make it, that's my question.
okay,
Take it away.
I'll move to authorize the city manager to enter into negotiations, knowing this council's intentions with SMC on terms of proposed contracts and the authority to sign contracts.
I second the motion.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. That wasn't a roll call, was it?
No, it
Yeah,
was just,
okay.
it's not actually a contract. Well, that takes us to the end of any new business on the agenda. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Bring him back in.
I would wait
Bruce
just
back in.
a second.
Am I still the mayor?
We made some changes,
I'll
Bruce.
second the motion and move Bruce as mayor.
Well, I'll learn more about what happened there later on. For right now, let's move on to the next item, which is,
I'm entertaining motions to adjourn.
I'll second.
anything to talk about first.
Yeah, I don't have it, I just want to make sure you do.
No, I'm fine. Okay,
There has been a motion to adjourn, it's been seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, adjourned.